60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 61.
Part man.
Pod machine.
All
pod. This minute begins with Clarence dipping his fingers into Sal's wine glass and ends with RoboCop making another great entrance.
That is one of the biggest power moves in this entire movie.
Yeah, so returning to this wine glass as a prop, it is such a well-chosen prop because, your eyes are drawn to it and you're wondering where it's going, and it's incorporated into the action quite well. And I don't know who thought of it or if it's just kind of improvised on the day, but it draws your eyes. It really does.
Yeah. I think as you're saying, it's been established about, Bodica's appearance and that, and it has that kind of intellectualism between two characters you would never intellectualize?
Yes, they're thugs. They're supposed to be thuggish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for Sal, the wine glass is the same as the glasses for Bodica, where it's just, it's a weird touch of class to this character you wouldn't expect it from. And the real challenge of dialogue scenes, I think, is to keep it visually interesting. And
yeah, definitely.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately of, especially film versus television, and how do you film things in a way that feels cinematic and feels worth your time. Why would you see this on the big screen? And I think the way all of this is framed and what the actions that are unfolding on screen, it all makes it feel worthwhile.
This is one of those reasons why, to a certain degree, show don't tell exists, because you really don't want a lot of dialogue on screen. But in this case, it's not telling a bigger part of the story, but it's really informing what these characters are and telling us a little bit about what's going on with Bodica's character and his involvement in the bigger picture. He's not just some cop-killing crook. He's a drug lord.
Yeah. And I was reading Stephen King's memoir / writing instructional.
Speaking a lot of cocaine.
And doing speaking of doing a lot of drugs. On writing. And it's fascinating, and I mean, I don't. My writing technique clearly is not the same as his, but there are some bits of advice that I think are quite universal, and the one was talking about show don't tell, and it's like, okay, so you've got this unintelligent character, he's uneducated. How do you convey that? Oh, you could start by saying, such and such is never finished school, whatever. But instead, he showed a more, fleshed out, dynamic scene of this grown man talking to, I think it's his son or just a kid, and the kid's asking questions, and this man who they're trying to convey is uneducated. He mispronounces things, or he's just like, why you gotta ask so many questions, that kind of stuff. And, that brings so much more life to a story. And, I think this scene is a very good example of that, where they're not just two people sitting across from each other at a desk like you would see in the RoboCop remake. Every scene you film should be significant. It should be furthering the story. It should be giving dimension to each character, even if it's a background character. Oh, what are they doing? How have they decorated their desk? What are they wearing? Yeah, so this is a very competent scene.
Yeah, this is the art of editing in regards to, you've got all this, you've got 3 hours worth of footage. Your priority should be what's propelling the story along.
Yeah.
Your next priority should be what is it adding to the story, what is it adding to the characters, is it adding to the scenes, is it set up? Establishing shots are great, but do you need 500 of them,
Yeah.
This is kind of one of those things where Lord of the Rings, it's brilliant, but at the same time, do you really need that many?
Incredibly indulgent. Yeah, and I love...
Is that? Yeah.
Well, actually, a lot of the movies I cover are incredibly efficient. And, I think Ridley Scott, towards this point in his career, he's actually too efficient. Even though the movies are still, 2 hours long, he cuts out a lot of very important things that would have been useful to explain what was going on in the scene. So there is definitely, taking that too far. But, I mean, John Carpenter, I review Christine, and that movie just moves. There's never a moment where it kind of slows down. And the same thing with RoboCop. It is just there's so much in it. It is very dense. Every minute gives you so much, but it's never slowing down to just go, okay, hold up. So let's explain what's going on here, because it doesn't need to. It's competent enough, and it trusts the concept enough.
Yeah, this is something I'm really... this is one of the things I hate about modern filmmaking. Okay. For me, this feels like the response to the internet's fascination with minutiae and nitpicking and stuff like this. We've seen like the rise of like MovieMistakes.com and things like that, where they pull a movie apart to show like continuity errors and stuff like that, and then you get on top of that you get like CinemaSins.
Yeah.
A channel dedicated to just acting like the biggest... there's just times when you're just watching one of those CinemaSins video and it's like, say if it's like a murder mystery.
It's just obnoxious. It is not film criticism. Yeah. It is just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking.
Yeah, somebody dies. Who killed that guy? We don't know who that guy is, so we're digging at a point. It's like, it's a murder mystery. You're not supposed to know who killed them. That kind of... I'm being a bit of hyperbolic. I'm being a bit hyperbolic. But it's still kind of true to a lot of this terrible nippy. And there's a lot of, like, internet personalities are very responsible for this, but it resonates to Hollywood to some degrees, and that's why you get some of these movies like... Let's go to Gaslighting quickly in that sense of they want to go and explain how the RoboCop works because they know that someone's going to get really nitpicky about how the RoboCop works. Whereas in the original movie, it's not important that we know the connection between RoboCop and his brain and his emotions.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you would expect from a novel where it can really take that time. And again, having analyzed a lot of Stephen King lately, comparing the books and the films, yes, a book will always have that freedom to go into exposition because a book technically is all exposition.
Well, that's why inner monologues work incredibly well in a book setting, because it's allowing you to get inside the head. It's almost like you never want to have expositional dialogue, or at least you don't want to have thought dialogue in a movie. Like,
I'm looking at you, David Lynch's Dune.
Well, the funny thing is that it became a cardinal sin in filmmaking. I don't know, I can't remember how long ago, but there's a book on screenwriting that became heavily influential a couple of decades ago. I can't recall what it's called off the top of my head. One of it was just like, have no non-diegetic dialogue. Everything has to be diegetic. There's no overlay. You don't want to... And this is a day I've died. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, unless you're going for a kind of Kill Bill intentional homage. I mean, Blade Runner, they did do that, but it wasn't... initially, like, that's a studio note, so yes, it could have been this interesting noirish homage, but that was not the film Ridley Scott set out to make in quite such a literal sense. So that's why I'm glad that's been excised from the film now.
Well, that's one thing you can always say about overlaid dialogue, is that if it's not actually adding to the scene, why... Again, this is back to editing. If it's not actually adding anything, and it's not... If all it's doing is explaining what's on screen, it's not doing anything. I feel very ableist because obviously that's not going to help people visually impaired, but that's why you have audiobooks. But because cinema is such a visual language, that...
I mean, there are... For movies, there are actually audio tracks for the visually impaired, so yeah. Yeah,
but as part of a visual language, you don't really want in the scene thing... Bodka going, well, look, I know I'm in your factory surrounded by all your guys with guns. No, he just goes, guns, 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 which is a...
Yeah, because that's what makes it realistic. In real life, if you and I caught up somewhere we just ran into each other at the shops or whatever. It's not like, oh, Simon, my co-host of 60 Seconds to Comply. Like, you can establish... how we know each other through much more subtle means of the way human beings talk to each other, because we already have this information. We do not reiterate information like we're more Jojo from Powerpuff Girls,
Well, the funny thing is, if you want to do that, you do it for comedy, or you do
Yeah.
it intentionally for a bit.
Yes.
I've been, because my brain immediately went to I did a reading the other week of potential future play, the play that goes wrong. And that's the kind of thing is when you might have extra exposition because you're trying to amp it up for comedic effect.
Yes.
And like nodding to the camera kind of dumb stuff like that. I'm not saying that's in there, but
Yeah.
you can do that.
Stephen King says that bad dialogue is like an instrument out of tune. It's just you immediately, instinctually know this is bad.
Yeah. And so that's why, that's good for comedic effect, but it's not good for dramatic effect.
No. But speaking of dialogue, I've got the muscle to shove enough of this factory up your stupid womp ass. You'll shit snow for a year. Like, it's so...
Yep.
A good singer. It is so over the top, but it works beautifully for this character.
Yeah, most of this dialogue of Boddicker was Kurtwood Smith.
Yeah.
So the dialogue in this particular minute and a half is less than is basically barely half a page long. So this is padded out to great effect.
Yeah, and this is why... I mean, there are some controlling directors who do turn out brilliant films, obviously Stanley Kubrick, but I think there's some magic in just sitting back and letting it, let it be a collaborative process. And so,
Yes.
I think Kurtzwood understands this character very well. He's very comfortable as this character, and he knows how he should talk.
Well, I think it also helps that even Ed himself... I do have the original WAP line right here. I'll quickly run through. So the original script of that phrase you just said is, I run the sales organization in old Detroit, you dumb WAP son of a bitch. I can keep the streets dry long enough to put you back in the olive oil business. Wow. Yeah, that's a bit harsh. But I think that's the thing. Even Ed was like, yeah, this stuff's not great. I'm happy to...
It's so long as well.
But even like, long isn't a bad thing as long as it's either adding to character, adding to the scene, and is interesting and entertaining. Like, you can get some great dialogue scenes and you're enthralled, even if it's like nothing's really happening.
Yeah, it doesn't flow, I guess, is my point. It's not flowing like normal someone can have a lot to say, but this is a scene where you just need something punchy and to the point, and you're insulting him and you're not writing a soliloquy.
Well, that's it. That's what I like about this, is it's a duel between... Like, these two guys know that a gunfight's not going to do either of them any good. They're businessmen. I think that if you think about that, if you just look at this as a business transaction, like, what's the difference between this and the boardroom scene?
Yeah.
We've got two businessmen arguments in this movie when you think about it. One set in a toilet and one set in a drug factory.
Classy. Stay classy, Detroit.
And it works.
Yeah.
The only other businessman type scene I can think of is a bit later on where Clarence meets up with Dick Jones in the thing, and they're talking about, and it's just that moment where it's not confrontational as such. It's just that it's them discussing what they plan to do with RoboCop. Yeah, it's more business neutral, but they're not confrontational. They're antagonistic to a degree, but it's not a power play.
Yeah.
They already know each other. They know what their role is. Whereas this one, it's like very much, the big dog scene.
Big jogging.
The second big dog scene.
Did we have any more notes for this minute?
I do have a little bit of commentary. Let me just check.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, one more. All the additional dialogue notes were mostly Kurtwood Smith. Lee, who plays Sal, added some as well, but he was mostly sticking to the script. They are a little bit, I won't say nasty towards him in the commentary. They do really kind of hammer home subtly that in terms of acting class, Sal's a little bit under Kurtwood Smith, but let's be honest, it's Kurtwood goddamn Smith.
Yeah.
And
very underrated actor.
Yeah, and he's just really owning this role in this particular scene. Ed does comment that every script he's done for Paul, which is, I believe, this and Starship Troopers, he adds in a reference to the Tigers, and for the longest time I didn't know what the Tigers were. It's a baseball team. The Detroit Tigers. I believe in Starship Troopers that's the name of Rico's sports ball team. But, yeah. And just as the minute ends, we find out that apparently a lot of the prop guns didn't work. Or were constantly malfunctioning in this next couple of minutes. So we'll have to talk about that as we get to it.
Now, to gaslight RoboCop.
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Minute 65 begins with a boardroom meeting at Omnicorp and ends with Norton telling Clara, just give me a little more time. And...
kind of gone over that.
Yeah, well, so I think this conversation between Clara and Norton, you know, if they've renamed Morton Norton, shouldn't it be Alex Nerfy? Keep it consistent, guys. But anyway, Clara and Norton here, I think this was a potential scene for some real interesting drama. Of course, they don't take it, but... you know, you have decided to include the family in this story. So include them in the story. And I think Abby Cornish is capable of giving this character more agency. She can pull off that you know, leading woman heroine kind of thing. And I think this scene could have been the moment where Norton goes, you know, okay, this is what's going on. Yeah, when he says, I'm not going to lie to you, he actually does come clean and says, okay, I was sent here to tell you this, and I can't do that. You know, I'm a doctor, I swore an oath, and I don't think this is harming him. And, yeah, so Clara, I think Clara would just not let this go anyway. It's her husband, she is very concerned, they can try to push her away as much as they want, it's not going to work. And... so, yeah, Norton and Clara could team up and work together to intervene or expose Omnicorp, because that's what this needs. Murphy was alone. Other than Lewis, he was alone in the original story. So here, again, if you're making a remake or a reboot or whatever, invert those things. Do something, you know, the Last Jedi principle, you know, let's flip all those tropes on their head. It's still a familiar story, but let's show it in a whole new light. So here, Murphy isn't alone. He has allies. This is a time of social media. You know, Clara goes out there and tells the world, hey, I'm married to RoboCop. This is what's happening. There's so much you could have done with this.
That would be the most weirdest clickbait title. I'm married to RoboCop. You can't believe what happens next.
Yeah. And all those over-the-top YouTube title cards with the big eyes and, oh, shocked face. PogChamp face, as the kids say.
Oh, God. I kind of want to mock that up now.
Please do.
God. That's just wrong on so many levels.
We're basically writing RoboCop 2014 fanfiction at this point.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
But I think it's a lot of fun. I think this scenario here, oh, wow, that makes me sit forward. That makes me, oh, okay, this is going somewhere I didn't expect. Because, yeah, up until now, as you were saying, who is Norton? Where is he in this? Because it seems like he's a good doctor with a good sense of ethics. Then he's been swept up into this thing against his will. And then after a certain point, it seems like he's going along with it. So I think, yeah, you know, you show this guy having a bit of a crisis of faith situation. And then, you know, when he sees that he might have an ally in Abby, in Clara, that's when the plot starts to, you know, an hour in, the plot actually starts to begin. And
It took him long enough.
It took him long enough. Yeah, because I think this movie seems quite fascinated with the logistics of the corporate aspects, of the medical aspects. So keep going with that. Murphy is not a character in this story. He is just
No.
a vessel.
He's a prop.
He's a prop. He is a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic, actually. That is very interesting because it is a story about a man turned into a product. He's turned into a machine. Let's explore that. And so
Lean into it.
Yeah, spend more time really. That first half an hour should show he's a great cop. He's very close to Lewis. He's close to his family. So he's a great family man. He's a good dad. And then you strip everything away from him, not just in terms of he becomes RoboCop, but narratively, we step away. We do not see anything from his perspective from this point out until the third act, when Clara and Norton have helped give him his humanity back.
Yeah, there's just so many definitely more interesting ways to do this.
Yes,
We've
and
seen
then in the
it.
third
It's
act,
called
the
RoboCop.
yeah, exactly. And in the third act, the little boy with the knife from the beginning of the film in Iraq.
Yeah, he comes back.
He comes back as well. Yeah, playing the long game there.
Yeah. It turns out he was RoboCop all along.
Or maybe it's a franchise. So, we've saved Murphy, thank God, this nightmare's over. Oh no, there are more RoboCops. Oh shit.
It'd be like, the reveal would be like, in the scene in First Contact, where, like, there's the dark room and then the laser pointers from the Borg starts turning on.
Yes.
But it's just the red visors blinking on.
Oh shit.
Oh no, they have an army of RoboCop drones would actually thematically fit into this movie about drone warfare.
Yes.
Which they completely ignore at this point onwards.
Fuck. That would be a great, kind of a sequel bait ending. So good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or even
love it.
like the whole thing of the ED-209, because we have to call it that in this movie.
I'm going to call it 209. They can't stop me. I'm unstoppable.
I know.
You can't kill
But
me.
even that thing where the Dick, because Sellers is essentially the Dick Jones in this movie. Maybe it's that thing where he's just like, yeah, maybe we don't bother with those ED-209s anymore, and we just have an army of RoboCops, and they don't even have to be humans. It's just the thing of, we've solved this idea. They could just be robots with rubber faces, literally soulless automatons.
That would be a great third act. Okay, yes. So
Yeah.
they rescue Murphy, and then Peter Sellers is there, and he's just like, yeah, okay,
Peter
whatever.
Sellers? Raymond.
Raymond Sellers.
I'd love to see Peter Sellers.
Yeah, wow, I don't know where that fucking came from. Okay, anyway.
Robo Cluzo. Fucking Robo Cluzo.
I knew I was going to do it eventually. I had trained myself. I said, do not say that, and then I did. What do we make it, like 62 episodes in, so I don't know.
61 episodes when we finally get Peter Sellers.
Yeah.
with the RoboCop.
Anyway, Peter Sellers comes out at the end. I'm looking at Peter Weller in my notes, if you're wondering why. Fucking Raymond Sellers comes out at the end, right? And he's like, okay, you take Murphy, whatever, I don't give a shit. And they're like, why? There's gotta be... You seem okay with this, and you shouldn't be okay with this. And then, yeah, some sequel to RoboCop comes out, and yeah, there's a guy who... It's like RoboCop 2, Oh yeah, we just got this freaking psychopath, and we've put him in a RoboCop suit. And so that's the third act, they fight each other, and yeah. I think, you've got... 2, maybe 3. I've heard there's maybe a third RoboCop film. We don't talk about it. You've got 3 movies and a TV series or 2 worth of plot. There's comics, so you don't have to follow the original RoboCop verbatim. I think you can start mixing some elements in from the sequels. And so third act, you have an evil RoboCop, another RoboCop, like that. That would have been exciting.
It feels like the whole point of Sellers' motivation is that he doesn't necessarily want to control. He just wants to sell more shit.
And he will take the most convenient path. So
yeah, and it makes a lot of sense for him to go, we've got a product that everyone loves. Literally, we've been told everyone loves this. why not make a dozen of them and to sell them off to like as literal new policemen for the world?
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause it's not like because even this movie establishes he's got like global control beyond one country that doesn't like robots, but likes a guy in a robot suit.
Yeah.
You're a terrible capitalist if you can't capitalize on this.
Yeah, just let Murphy go, and you would already have established franchises by now.
We can keep Murphy under his thumb because he's the public face.
And also,
No pun intended.
if Murphy leaves Omnicorp, he would die.
Yeah.
Because he needs
Yeah.
he can't eat. He needs things to his body to be flushed out, I guess is how you would say that.
Yeah, no. Apparently he needs to recycle his blood because they decided to keep that as a thing. Well, that's the other thing with, say, the original movie. Like, it's established that all that RoboCop need is basic nutrition.
Yeah.
This one, he's tied to the system. So, yeah, again, a good plot point. And you do nothing with it. What the
It's
hell?
almost like planned obsolescence. You've built obsolescence into a human being. How terrifying! It's like, well, what are you gonna do? We are the only people who make the machines that you need for life support. So
Yeah. If it wasn't for this dumb idea of, but the emotions need to connect to the suit, and therefore we need to remove the emotions.
I actually don't even think you needed to remove the emotions. As I've just said, this guy is under Omnicorp's thumb entirely, because even if he rebels, okay, you will literally die if you don't do as you're told. You cannot.
Well, this is the point I was getting to.
Yeah,
is
okay. Oh, we're on the same page.
Yeah, no, this is the point I was getting to, because literally they've established that Murphy can't function without Omnicorp, which
Yeah.
of course ridiculous when you get to the end. But the point is that they have this conceited idea that they have to tie the mechanics to his emotions, so that it's the reason why they have to get rid of his emotions. Again, it makes no sense in any way whatsoever. So yeah, even it would be more dramatic if it wasn't for the. Again, this is almost the thing that happens in the original movie, where like that moment where Dick Jones essentially shows RoboCop that I've got you under my thumb, regardless of how much autonomy you think you have. We have programmed you into our machine.
Yeah.
That's a massive dramatic moment. That does not exist in this movie because they went with a really dumb idea and stuck with it.
Yeah, I think Murphy with emotions would have been very interesting, or RoboCop with emotions, I should say specifically, would have been incredibly interesting, and it heightens the drama and the psychological horror of it, that he's aware of this the whole time. He's not like the original RoboCop who just becomes a robot. He doesn't even remember being Murphy. It's just a very, relatively easy transition, whereas... They took this huge thing of trying to establish Murphy being inside this machine to erase him, and then in the next 5 minutes he gets that
it
was
back
the other
anyway,
thing. So you had some really brilliant scenes at the beginning there where he becomes RoboCop and he's fully conscious and aware of that, and I think again that is one of the greatest scenes of body horror in general in cinema, is just seeing what's left of him and the claustrophobia of that. So continue that. I want him to suffer, because RoboCop has never really emotionally suffered. RoboCop is a very stoic, indifferent character. So let's flip that. Let's see what is it like for a human being to go through this and be aware of it. It's horrifying.
Well, even in the original movie, Peter Weller doesn't play Murphy towards the end of the movie. He doesn't play him as the Murphy that was at the beginning of the movie.
No, he's never okay again.
Yeah, he's never going to be that character again. He still refers to himself in the third person, like Murphy had a wife and kids. It wasn't I have a wife and kids. It's still that thing where there's a detachment, which again it works very well. it's almost like they're cognizant of this fact of this guy is forever transformed, which is again part of the hero's journey. It's about
Yeah.
the transformation of the hero. You can never go back to, you're always permanently transformed. Even if you manage to go back to your original life, you are forever changed.
Yeah.
Just this one's a lot more extreme.
Yeah, I think that would be a nice closing shot for the remake, is him at home with his family, but he's this robot.
Oh, Murphy.
I really wish the costume was better. It's like this is the one time I've talked about it before, but this is the one time where go digital, make it look like the cyborgs in Alita Battle Angel. Really give us something really out there, because you can do that. The technology allows you to do that, and as big of a fan as I am of practical effects, this is the one situation where no, you want to go digital because you can do things that are physically impossible in the real world.
Or even just make the suit look metallic.
Metallic, yes.
Not this black rubber.
Yeah, shiny and chrome all the way, like that. The Japanese art that inspired the original RoboCop. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be shiny, but it just has to not seem like it's just a guy wearing a suit.
Yeah, and amazingly, as bulky as the original RoboCop costume is, I buy that. I buy that for $1. I really buy that is a man who has been... He's lost his body and now he's in this suit machine. And yeah, I think to further emphasize the tragedy, the body horror that they seem to want to do in the remake, put him in this somewhat grotesque, unnatural body. Something that is just not... it is fit for purpose. It is made for fighting crime, basically. And because the family is still a huge part of the story, show how difficult it is for him to just live a domestic life in the aftermath.
Yeah, or even that might be the choice where he has to dedicate himself to being a police officer. Essentially, that's what happens in the original movie. He can't... That's also sequelitis, but RoboCop can't go back to being a regular person. He has to essentially just inhabit that role until the day he's deactivated. Because what else can he do? He is literally designed for one thing, and one thing only.
Yeah, and I don't know how often he needs to... Well, I think it seems like every single night he sleeps in that lab and they're, keeping him on life support. So yeah, that's the other tragedy of you don't sleep in a bed with your wife ever again.
Yeah.
My god, even now I want to fucking write this fan fiction, but you go further down the track, and Clara obviously needs more of a husband in her life, so then they have to go through the drama of their marriage, and like, okay, well, I mean, I still love you, but you don't have a Robocock, and you can't even spend the night at our house because you constantly need to be on life support, and just like all the domestic drama, the romantic drama of this story. Yes, I want that.
Sorry, honey, I can't come home tonight. I'm getting my blood drained again.
Yeah.
No, that's not a euphemism.
It's just like freaking oh my god.
You were saying that before you got your RoboCop.
The Notebook of science fiction.
That used to be Murphy's code for I'm getting my dick sucked by a hooker around the back. Getting my blood drained.
Yeah.
So
that's where I would take this movie, and I think this scene is maybe I could do like a compilation of just all the scene. I'll make it like a silent movie, so I do all the interstitial cards to explain what's actually happening. So I just make my own story up and I go, okay, so this scene's great. This scene is actually really good, but cut it there, change the dialogue a little bit, then keep going.
Yeah. I still think my cut of RoboCop is the best one, where it's just Alex gets killed and then he's back alive and he's good. It's all good.
Yeah, he's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think that about covers it. We got on 36 minutes there. Yeah, these are some shorter episodes, but
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
this long for Covenant on my shows. We do about 20 minutes to half an hour.
That's okay. Next minute of RoboCop, we're gonna get some guns.
Guns, guns, guns. Yeah. Yep, it's gonna be all happening. We're finally back to the action.
So much powder. So much damn powder. In the
All
air.
the powder, all the time. Yeah, don't light a fire in that place. Ooh, lordy.
Ooh, no. Getting flashbacks to Bloodshot.
This is, it's an interesting story. Maybe keep it in, maybe don't. But a friend of mine was telling me that they were playing D&D, and one of the other players, they were in a fight in this mill. So there was all this flour being kicked up everywhere. Well,
Fuck.
they didn't say it exactly. It was just like, oh, you're in a mill, you're having this fight, oh, he's throwing bags of flour at you, yada yada. Then this guy suddenly has a thought, so, it's a lot of powder in the air, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to set it on fire, and it worked. So.
Yeah. That was the moment in Bloodshot where I absolutely went, you gotta be kidding me. They're literally in a tunnel full of, like, aerated powder,
Yeah.
flour, and there's flares going off. And it didn't explode.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that movie, but yeah.
In an action movie where you want explosions because explosions are cool, they literally have a situation that would have caused a lot of explosions, especially when Bloodshot needs to get into the heavily armored vehicle to murderify the guy. And you don't do the explosion!
You set it up, but you didn't pay it off.
Yeah, I was ropeable at that moment in that movie, and I still own it. It's a dumb film. It's so dumb.
Simon, where can we find you?
You can find me on Fandom Crossing and Helios Photos. I'm on Facebook and the YouTubes where I post shit when I can get around to it. And where can the lovely viewers find you?
I am Courtney Coulson on YouTube. I am Courtney and Ive on Instagram. I have my Trivian Designs website. That's where you find all my podcasts. And also there's patreon.com/Trivian Designs for podcasts that aren't available to the public just yet.
And you can find us on Spotify, Simplecast, Google, Apple's, YouTube's. Do the like, share, subscribe, rate, review, all that bullshit algorithms. Say that we're very popular because Raymond Teller says so. Because he says so, it's obviously true. I have nothing.
And until next time.
Do you have a license for that, Robocock?